Hello. Today we are going to see the insect's respiratory system, morphology and its function, how that insect respiration it is carrying out only. Very detailed we are going to see. Now we see the morphology of the insect respiratory system. Generally, gaseous exchanges in insect is carried on through a system of internal tubes. That is the trachea, the finer branches of which extend to all parts of the body and may become functionally intracellular in muscle fibers. Oxygen is carried directly to its sites of utilization and the blood is not concerned with gas transport. So the trachea, which opens to the outside of the body through segmental pores, it's called spiracles. So spiracles generally have some closing mechanisms which keeps water loss at a minimum. So the spiracles, which opens in response to low internal concentrations of oxygen or a high concentrations of carbon dioxide in the tissues. Diffusions alone can account for the gaseous requirement of most insects at rest. But large insects, active insects requires a better system, that is the tracheal system. Now you see that tracheal system, that is the component of the respiratory system. Now you see the trachea of the morphology of the trachea. The trachea are the large tubes of the tracheal system which is running inwards from the spiracles and usually breaking into finer branches, the smallest of which are about 2 micron in diameter. Trachea are ectodermal in origins and have a cuticular lining which is shed during each molt. A spiral thickening of the intima runs along each tubes, each ring of the spiracles being called a ctenidium. The ctenidia prevents the collapse of the trachea. If the pressure within is reduced, intima consists of a layer of cuticulin forming the surface lining the lumen and a protein or the chitin layer on the outsides of the intima. So that another part is the air sac. In places where trachea are expanded to form thin-walled air sacs in which the ctenidia are absent or poorly developed. Consequently, the air sacs will collapse under pressures and they play a very important part in ventilations of the tracheal systems as well as having other functions. Air sacs occurs in many insects. That another part is the tracheoles. There are the smaller branches of the tracheal system. There is no clear distinctions between the tracheae and the tracheoles. But the tracheoles are always intracellular and retain the cuticular lining at molting. Proximally, the tracheoles are about 1 micron in diameters, tapering to about 0.1 micron distally. Tracheoles are formed in cells are called tracheoloblasts, which are derived from the epidermal cells lining the trachea. The tracheoles are very intimately associated with the tissues and in fibrillar muscles. They are indent the muscles plasma membranes and penetrates deep into the fibers. But they never truly become intercellular. Distally, the tracheoles end blindly or they may anastomers. So, see the distributions of the tracheal system. The tracheal system arises externally at the spiracles in many of the Aterygota except Lepismatidae. The tracheae from each spiracles form a series of unconnected tufts. But in most insects, the tracheae from neighboring spiracles anastomers to form longitudinal trunks running the length of the body. Usually, there is a lateral trunk on either side of the body and these are often the largest tracheae. Also, there is often a dorsal and a ventral longitudinal trunk. The longitudinal trachea are often connected to those of the other sides of the body by transverse commissures, while smaller branches extend to the various tissues which gave rise to the tracheoles which runs to the cells. So, the arrangements of the tracheal systems varies in different insects, but in general, the heart and dorsal muscles are supplied by branches from the dorsal trunks. The alimentary canal, gonads, legs and wings from the lateral trunks, and the central nervous systems from the ventral trunks are transverse commissures. The head is supplied from spiracles 1 through 2 main tracheal branches on each side. A dorsal branch to the antennae, eyes and brain, and a ventral branch to the mouth parts and their muscles. In some insects, the connecting tubes are constricted, which somewhat isolates the tracheal system of the head from the rest of the body, ensuring a good supply of oxygen to the brain and major sense organs. Accordingly, pterothorax in some insects also has its tracheal system somewhat isolated from the rest of the systems. Spiracles is the extending opening of the tracheal system. They are lateral in positions, usually on the pleura and except in Japhex, that is in diplural aura, which has 2 pairs of spiracles on the metathorax. There are never more than 1 pair per segments. Often the spiracle is contained in a small distinct sclerites, that is the peritreme. Now see the number and distributions of spiracles. With the exceptions of some diplurula, the largest number of spiracles found in insects is 10 pairs, 2 thoracics and 8 abdominals. And the respiratory systems can be classified on the basis of the number and the distributions of the functional spiracles. Polynucleic, at least 8 functional spiracles on each side. That is as 3 subdivisions. Holonucleic, 10 spiracles, 1 mesothoracic, 1 metathoracic, 8 abdominal as in the Bibliomylidae larva. Perinucleic, 9 spiracles, 1 mesothoracic, 8 abdominal as in the Cystidomycidae larva. Heminucleic, 8 spiracles present, 1 mesothoracic, 7 abdominal as in Mycetophilidae larva. These are the examples. But another one is the oligonucleic, 1 or 2 functional spiracles on each side. There are 3 subdivisions. Amphinucleic, 2 spiracles, 1 on mesothoracic, 1 post-abdominal as in the Psycholidae larvae. Metanucleic, 1 spiracles, 1 post-abdominal including the Clusidae larvae. Pronucleic, 1 spiracle present, 1 mesothoracic is in the Dipterus pupae. Anucleic, no functional spiracles as in Chironomus larva. Anucleic does not mean that the insect has no tracheal system, but rather that the tracheal system does not open externally. Anucleic does not mean that the insect has no tracheal system, but rather that the tracheal system does not open externally. Structure of the spiracles, you will see, it is simplest form in the Atericota. The spiracle is a direct opening from the outside to the trachea, but generally the visible opening leads into the cavity at the atrium from which the trachea arises. In these cases, the opening and the atrium collectively called the spiracle. Often the walls of the atrium are lined with hairs which filter out the dust. In other insects, there may be a sieve plate which has small pores which filters out the dust. The spiracles of most terrestrial insects have a closing mechanism which is important in the conservation of water. The closing mechanism may consist of one or two movable valves in the spiracle opening itself, or it may be internal closing of the atrium from the tracheae by means of their constrictions. The spiracle tubes in the grasshopper occurs in the membranous area between the mesothorax and metathorax. It is closed by two movable semicircular valves which are unsclerotized except at the hinge and are thickened basically to form a pad into which a muscle is inserted. The muscles, by pulling down on the valves, causes them to rotate and so to close. The spiracles usually open simply from the elastics of the surrounding cuticles. One muscle type of spiracle is usually found on the thorax, but in Arthropoda spiracle one has both an opener muscles and a closer muscles. The spiracles occurs in the membranous area between the pro and mesothoracic and consist of a fixed anterior valve and a movable posterior valve. It is unusually having two orifices which leads directly from the external opening. Control of spiracle opening. The spiracles are normally opened for the shortest time necessary for efficient respirations in order to keep water loss from the tracheal system to a minimum. Spiracle closures results from the sustained contractions of the closer muscles, while opening commonly results from the elasticity of the surrounding cuticles when the closer muscle is relaxed. The muscle is controlled by the central nervous system but may also respond to local chemical stimuli which interact with the central control. Now we see the cutaneous respiration. Some gaseous exchange takes place through the cuticle of most insects, but this does not amount to very much of the total respirations. On the other hand, Protura and most Columbola have no tracheal system and must depend on cutaneous respirations together with transport from the body surface to the tissues by the hemolymph. Cutaneous respiration is also important in eggs, aquatic insects and endoparasitic insects. Other functions of the tracheal systems are the whole tracheal systems and in particular the air sacs lower the specific gravity of the insects. In aquatic insects but not in the terrestrial ones, it also gives some degrees of buoyancy which can be adjusted. Expansions of the tracheal systems may assist in inflations of the insect's actor modes. Some air sacs near the flights muscles are thought to aid in cooling of the muscles during the periods of the high activity. There is a air chamber in cicadas that functions as a resonating chamber to help amplify its call. Respiration in aquatic insect. Aquatic insects obtain oxygen from the air or from air dissolved in the water. Most get their oxygen directly from the air. This usually requires periodic visit to the surfaces. A few insects, however, maintain a semi-permanent connections with the air via a long respiratory siphon or through the parenchyma of certain aquatic plants. Insects returning to the surface phase to main problem, first they must be able to break the surface film of the water, and secondly they must be able to keep the water from entering the spiracles once they re-enter the water. Respirations by aquatic insects usually requires one of some modifications. The modifications you will see: tracheal gills, evaginated tracheae or tracheoles is found in immature mayflies, some Odonata. Rectal gills is found in Odonata. Inside the rectum there are 5 tracheoles water is taken into the tracheum, the oxygen is removed and then the water is expelled. Spiracular gills. It is found in aquatic Diptera, often are insects that are associated with streams that periodically dry up. When in water, they function as gills. Its streams dries up of the gills, break off, leaving a hole so air can enter directly. Respiratory tubes found in Nephides water scorpions simply is a siphon or respiratory tube. Post-abdominal siphon found in mosquitoes. This is a posterior sharp siphon that is used to pierce the plant tissues to obtain oxygen. Air bubbles. It is found in aquatic Hemiptera or Coleoptera. The insect captures the bubbles of air at surface and carries it below surface and is used to breathe it. Sometimes the oxygen diffuses from the water directly into the air bubbles. Plastron respiration. This is called a hydrofuge and consists of special hairs which traps the bubbles. The hairs prevent the bubbles from collapsing. So the insect can stay underwater with one bubbles for up to 4 months. So respiration in endoparasitic insect. So the majority of the endoparasitic obtains some oxygen by diffusion through the cuticles from the host tissues. Other insects, that particularly older, actively growing larvae, communicate with outside air either through the body wall of the host or via its respiratory system. So the majority of these insects are metaneustic or amphinoustic, using the posterior spiracles to obtain their oxygen. Now see that blood of the hemoglobin. So most insects have no respiratory pigments, but a few have hemoglobin in solutions in the blood. So the best known examples are the aquatic larva of Chironomus and related insects, the aquatic bug Anisops, and the endoparasitic larva of Gasterophilus that comes under the order Diptera. So the molecular weight of the hemoglobin in insect is about half that amount in the vertebrates, indicating the insect hemoglobin probably consists of only 2 heme groups. Now see the mechanisms of the respirations. Oxygen enters the spiracles and passes through the length of the tracheae to the tracheoles and into the target cells by combinations of ventilations and diffusions along a concentrations gradients from high in the external air to low in the tissues. Whereas the net movement of oxygen molecules in the tracheal system is inward, that is inspiration. The net movement of carbon dioxide and water vapor molecule is outward, that is the expirations. Now see the respirator, closed aquatic insect respiration, closed tracheal system and open system. Now we will see the closed tracheal system. Some aquatic and many endoparasitic larvae, spiracles are absent and the tracheae divided peripherally to form a network. This covers the body surface, allowing cutaneous gas exchange. Example, gills that tracheated, thin outgrowth of the body wall, lamellated gills in mayfly snake, filamentous gills in damselfly snake, rectal gills in dragonfly snakes all comes under closed tracheal system. In open tracheal system, air strokes, air bubbles stored beneath the wings act as a physical gills, example water bug, respiratory siphons, example wrigglers, caudal breathing tube, that is the water scorpion. Then fourth one, plastrons, a closely set hydrofuge hair of epicuticular fold, a thin film of an indefinitely. So gaseous exchanges in insect. Insects do not have transport system, as oxygen needs to be transported directly to tissues which are undergoing respiration. They have a specialized gas exchange system. Most insects are land organisms with a tough exoskeleton. Insects have an exoskeleton which helps to prevent the insect from losing water from their bodies as well as protecting them from the environment. Exoskeletons are too thick for gas exchange because of their surface. Exoskeleton are usually too thick to allow for simple diffusion to occur for gas exchanges. So gas exchanges in insects occurs via the tracheal system, gas exchange occurs via special organ system, it is a tracheal system. It is a very simple respiratory system found in many insects. Mechanical ventilation is used by some active insects. Occasionally, ventilation of active insects, respiratory systems can happen via mechanical ventilation, that means a pumping of the abdomen or air reserves, sometimes both simultaneously. There are multiple ways of diffusing gases. Diffusion is used in the trachea, whereas mass transfer is used as a result of muscle contractions and volume changes in the tracheoles. Functions of the tracheal system and structure we will see. Spiracles, tiny holes able to let air enter the body and prevent water loss. They are controlled by specialized muscles to be opened or closed. Spiracles are used to pass air to the trachea. That another part is trachea, a tube lined with chitin which branches into the smaller tubes. It is known as the tracheole. The tracheole, they deliver oxygen to the cells and the tissues of the insect. Chitin, impermeable rings which work to stop structures collapsing. As they are impermeable, it stops the diffusions. Lactic acid, oxygen dissolves into the fluid where it reaches individual cells to start simple diffusions. The carbon dioxide from this process get released into the environment through the spiracles. There are some questions frequently they will ask. What is gas exchange in insect? Gas exchange in insect refers to the process of exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide between the insect body and the environment. How do insect exchanges gases? So, the answer is insect exchanges gas through a system of tiny tubules called a tracheae. Oxygen enters the tracheae and it diffuses into the insect body, while carbon dioxide produced by the cellular respiration diffuses out of the insect body and into the tracheae. Then another question, what is the tracheal system in insect? The answer, the tracheal system is a network of tiny tubules that run throughout the insect body, providing a direct connections to the environment. So, the tracheal system enables the exchange of gases between the insect body and the environment. That another, how is the oxygen exchanged in insect? So, in insect, gaseous exchange occurs through a network of tubules collectively known as tracheal system. The small opening on the sides of the insect body are known as spiracles. Oxygen-rich air enters through the spiracles. The spiracles are connected to the network of tubules. That pathway of oxygen transport system, in this, air enters into the body of the insect through the spiracles. The spiracle transfers the air to thin tubules called the tracheae. So, the tracheal system contains a special fluid for the carrying oxygen. Sometimes water buildup of the bottom of the tracheoles causing slower diffusion. To remove this, lactic acid belonging to build up in the cells, decreasing their water potential, where water can move back into the cells. That question another asker, how is the tracheal system different from the respiratory system in mammals? Unlike mammals, which have a specialized respiratory system with the lungs and airways, insects have a simple tracheal system that provides direct connections to the environment. So, the tracheal system allows for efficient gas exchange, but it is not as complex as the respiratory system in mammals. That another question, how does the structure of the tracheal system support gas exchange in insect? So, the answer is, the structure of the tracheal system with its small diameter and a large surface area enables efficient gas exchanges. The trachea are lined with the permeable cuticle that allows gas to diffuse into and out of the insect body. What is the role does the spiracles play in gas exchange in insect? Answer, spiracles are the opening to the tracheal system on the surface of the insect body. The spiracles can open and close, allowing the insect to regulate the flow of air into the tracheal system. This enables the insect to control the rate of gas exchange and to maintain the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in its body. Can changes in the gas exchange system in insect have an impact on the insect survival? Yes, it has an impact. Changes in the gas exchange system can have a significant impact on the survival of the insect. So exchange of gas is essential for the insect metabolic processes, and distributions in gas exchange can lead to reduced oxygen levels and increases the carbon dioxide levels, potentially resulting in death it occurs. Thank you.